Good evening. This is the Rutland Town Planning Commission, and it's February 18th of 2021. Welcome, everyone. Let me quickly do an attendance here. We've got Howard Burgess, Norm Cohen, Sherman Hunter, Annie McVeigh, Dana Peterson, Mary Beth Poley, Jerry Stearns, and myself for the commission. Did I get everyone?
Yes. Not just a quick question. Has anybody heard from Jim Hall? This is the second meeting I've missed.
It might be the third. So
third in a row. Yeah.
I talked to him the last meeting that we had. He forgot about it. He forgot that there was a meeting. So that's what happened on that one. So
okay, so he's okay.
Well, that's the most important.
Yeah, he was okay. Yep.
Good.
Okay, approval of the agenda. We've got, it doesn't look like much, but we've got a lot of folks here and a lot of things to talk about tonight.
Move to approve.
Thanks, Dana.
Second.
Okay, Andy. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay. It looks like there may be some members of the public here. Does anyone want to, this is the time to speak to the commission. Is there anyone?
Richard Thomas.
Richard Collins.
Thomas.
Oh, Thomas. Dick Thomas. Okay. Did you want to say something ahead of time, Dick?
No.
Okay.
Doug Best from Velco.
Okay, and you're probably here for the same reason Dick Thomas is?
Probably, yep.
Okay, you don't need to say anything ahead of time.
No, I do not.
Okay, anyone else before we move on to our presentation this evening? Okay, so we've got a couple of representatives from the John Flatley Company from Massachusetts here. This is in regards to the proposed housing development at Dyer and Middle Roads, the south part of town. And so I will turn it over to Doug, I believe. Doug Richardson.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Are you able to share the screen or can I?
I sure can. Stand by 1 second. There you go.
Excellent. Thank you. Is that on your screen, Bill?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll tell you when to flip the slide.
Sure.
Chairwoman in the planning board and the town of Rutland, thank you very much for allowing us to come here and present tonight. My name is Doug Richardson. I'm Vice President of Planning and Acquisitions for the John Flatley Company. With me tonight is Kevin Walker, who is Vice President of Engineering and Construction. We're here tonight regarding a proposed apartment community that we are looking to develop in the town of Rutland. It's located, well, we'll get into a little bit of the background of the Flatley Company. So if you could turn the slide. So the John Flatley Company is a family-owned business since 1957. John Flatley is a sole proprietor of the company, very similar to what his father did for years in terms of real estate development. John has been in operation himself since 1985. The company owns, operates, and manages office properties, research and development, retail centers, as well as apartment communities throughout New England. We are working currently in pretty much all 6 New England states. We've got a good focus in southern New Hampshire, but we're working in Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Vermont right now. We have unrivaled on-site management services. And what happens is our communities are amenity rich and they are managed by employees of the company. So we do not engage with any third-party people on site that do the property management. We'll get into that. The company itself is focused on long-term ownership and management. There are other developers that may develop a parcel, reach occupancy, and then sell it to an investment group. John's properties are long-term hold. Next slide. So we wanted to show some examples. This is an urban project. It's south of Boston, located near a train station that goes into Boston. There are 500 units. We do have a shuttle that brings the residents over to the train station to and from. But to show the amenity building, we do have a clubhouse that has various amenities, which I'll get into. Fitness centers and other activities, outdoor pool, tennis court. This is, next slide, please. This is the location in Nashua, New Hampshire. It's in a 400-acre property that has office, R&D, retail, as well as 500 units. It is a true live, work, play type of environment. Many of the residents here work in the buildings that are on site. There's an extensive network of over, Kevin, how many miles?
It's 2 miles of one loop, but cross-country nature trails plus the paved walking trails, you're up around 4 or 5 miles.
Also, as you see in the lower left, a amenity that we put in all of our properties is a community garden. These are signed up by the residents. There is a tool house with water and tools, implements for them to garden. A lot of them partake in both vegetables and floral, and it's a really nice amenity on property. Next screen, please. This is Gilbert Crossing in Merrimack, New Hampshire. This is showing the tennis court. There's a small putting green, still all the other same elements that I've described, but at the same time, it's just to really show in each of the different locations that we have the similar amenities. Next slide. This is a typical clubhouse. We have an outdoor saltwater pool. In there is a fitness center. We have a business center, which there's private spaces to work as well as a meeting room. There's a movie theater room that people can sign up to utilize and entertain. A coffee bar, lounge with pool table, which you see in the upper left of the screen. We also have gas grills with picnic tables outside. We mentioned the community gardens, the tennis court. We do electric charging stations. There's a lot of electric vehicles now that are being acquired by the residents, so we provide charging stations for those. We do have private garages available for people who would like to have an enclosed garage for their car or for storage. And we mentioned the walking paths. So next slide. So this is an overview of the site. Bill, if you could jump 2 slides forward real quick, just to show. Real quick, the shaded area is the parcel that we're talking about, and the yellow is the actual area of disturbance where the development is. If you can go back 2 slides, please. So you can see it is located at the intersection of the southwest corner of routes 4 and 7, just behind the Ford dealership and the John Deere dealership. It is focused to the east of the train tracks and well east of Otter Creek. So it is a very small impact in terms of the overall parcel. We're looking at, if you go to the next slide. Yeah, so we're looking at 5 buildings. There's 260 units. There'd be approximately 400 parking spaces. And what we do is we like to cluster the parking individually to each building so that there's not a great distance to walk. Also, we have a separate circulation road, individual from the parking areas that cuts down on traffic speeding through the parking zones. In the center of this, you can see is the clubhouse, pool, and tennis court. Next slide. So an important thing in regards to the site is where the site itself is 182 acres. We're developing approximately 14 acres of it. So you're looking at only an 8% impact of development. 92% of the parcel remains in its current state. Next slide. So this is samples of the typical building. It is a 4-story, 52-unit structure. As I said, there's 5 of them. We have a high ratio of 1-bedroom and studio compared to 2-bedroom. There's approximately 28 1-bedroom in the building and 24 2-bedroom. The reason why we do that is we have a high resident count of young professionals as well as empty nesters. We find in our properties that people who have outgrown their homes and are still looking to stay in the community, they will come to our properties as a resident, and typically they'll be there or have another place down south, and they'll utilize that for the winter and use this year round. Next slide. So this is the layouts of the units within them. Every unit has an exterior balcony. We'll get into some of the details of the units, but they are what we would consider as market rate. And the John Flatley Company, the owner, does not look at having the top tier in rents because tenant retention is very important to him. It reduces turnover of the properties. And our properties have been very successful where we have waiting lists for people to enter the community. Next slide. So here are some images of our standard unit. You can see that it's European cabinets, stainless steel kitchens, luxury vinyl wood look flooring. We have tile in the bathrooms and carpet in the bedrooms, oversized groupings of windows to let in natural light. The colors are very bright and neutral so that the residents can customize the color and the look within their units themselves. Countertops in the kitchens are stone or solid surface. So very high quality materials in the units. Next slide. So in terms of employment, I touched upon the fact that the staff would be employees of the John Flatley Company. So a project of this size would have 10 full-time positions. You'd have a property manager, assistant property manager. During initial lease up, there would be 2 leasing representatives. We have an events coordinator. The clubhouse itself has many activities, and we'll get into that a little later in the slide, but it requires a person to put that together and handle the different things that are occurring in the clubhouse. We also have 2 day porters that maintain the common areas in the clubhouse and fitness center. Also 3 maintenance technicians. Anything that comes up that needs service, they are employees that are there. The project itself during construction would be about 150 construction jobs. The John Flatley Company is a construction manager. So we manage the project ourselves, but we hire local subcontractors to do the actual construction work. Next slide, please. So health and safety of our community is very important. The buildings are equipped with fire suppression systems. The elevators in the buildings are sized to accommodate stretchers and wheelchairs. Also, we're very big on fresh air circulation. We bring fresh air not only into the common areas, but into the units themselves. With new construction methods for energy code, the buildings are so tight that we have one of the bathroom fans that runs constantly to make sure that there's constant fresh air being circulated through the unit. Next slide. We are very big on sustainable and green initiatives. As I mentioned, we do the electric car charging stations. 100% of our lighting is LED. We absolutely maintain night sky compliance. We use cutoff fixtures. We would, as part of the submission, have a photometric plan that shows that there's no light bleed beyond the extent of the developed area. We utilize solar powered trash compactors, and we're constantly looking at our carbon footprint reduction. The trash compactors, we do have a centralized recycling and trash area for the residents so that they can drop off their waste. Next slide. So activity begets activity. This is a statement that the owner of the company firmly believes in all of the communities that he has developed. Operating expenses go directly back into the community. There are local businesses that we hire, landscaping, snow plowing, plumbers, painters, electricians. As we turn over units, we refresh them and we utilize local trades. A project like this will enhance Rutland's full-time population. Rutland itself as a town, as well as a city, there is medical jobs there. There are a very vibrant commercial corridor. So this is providing an opportunity for housing for those people. It's a very thoughtful unit mix. As I said, there's a large ratio of 1 or 2 bedroom units. And as I said, the residents are typically young professionals and empty nesters. We have very low impact on schools. Typically, and this is with our properties we have, historically it's an 8%. So you're looking at a couple of dozen, Kevin, children in a K through 12 span. This also being located in the industrial commercial zone would be a boost for the corridor, retail and restaurants as you go up the Route 7 corridor. And as I said, the clubhouse, we do regular community events, especially when the weather's better and we get past the COVID we're going through. We engage with local entertainment. We do functions at the clubhouse for the residents of the community, food trucks, catering. So that's all done locally too. Next slide. So that finishes our presentation, and we are available for any questions you may have.
Okay, Doug. So Rutland Town has no zoning.
Yes, I've worked with Mr. Sweet. We understand the process that we need to work with. We're here in a first meeting to make presentation, but we certainly like to work on input and fully recognize that this will have to go through the Act 250 process.
Yes, yeah. Well, thank you for this early presentation. We always value getting the most early information we can about projects, especially of this size. It looks like if you have time for just a couple of questions,
Yes.
It looks like the access will be off Middle Road.
Yeah, Bill, could you scroll back to that large? Yeah, that's good. Yes, the access would be off of Middle Road, but very close to where it spans off to Dyer.
Okay, and that is mostly commercial and industrial land use right now, future land use. That's what we anticipate for that, although there is quite a bit of agriculture that goes on there. I think mostly hay and maybe some other types of ag there. You're going to be a landowner with quite a chunk of land there. Will it be full of trails or just the 2 miles or so? And what do you anticipate doing with the rest of the land?
We certainly, I'll let Kevin speak on this.
Well, yeah, there's obviously a lot of room out there that we can construct trails. Some places we do a natural trail where people kind of make their own paths. Some we'll stone dust a trail through the site. To the left of the railroad tracks, as we're looking at the plan above, a lot of that is upland, but still within the 100-year floodplain. So we could even do walking trails on the other side of the tracks. So there's plenty of room for different types of recreation, walking trails. Sometimes we have walking trails with signs every so often pointing out different things in nature that are there, and so on. So we're open to provide both active and passive recreation out there.
Okay. And what are your plans for water and sewer?
It's our understanding that water and sewer are available on Route 7. We will have to go through the proper process with the various departments. When we go to the next step, we would look at having a technical review meeting with the various departments to review requirements and capacities.
With the goal of hooking to municipal systems?
That is correct.
Okay. I don't mean to hog all the questions here. Who else would like?
Barb,
Yeah.
a question I have is all of this land is in current use. Are you planning on removing all of it or keeping some of it in the current use program?
We're looking to take all of it out of current use, or maybe we could leave.
We could probably leave a good
Yeah.
bit in current use.
We could leave to the west of the train tracks in the current use. And John's father had a project in Bridgewater, Mass, where very large amount of open space. And as you can see, some of those areas are managed, as you mentioned, for hay. We could work with local, farms that are there to keep that happening.
Yeah, because the current use program will only allow certain things, so you'd have to find out exactly what you can do with it before you have to take it all out. So it's just something you need to follow up on.
We are certainly anticipating removing from current use, especially with the development that we're proposing.
Okay.
Barb?
Norm.
Yes, thank you. Very impressed with your presentation. Of course, it raises a number of questions, anything this new and of this size and magnitude. How much land will you acquire once the transaction is closed? And how much land will be taken up by your development? How much of that parcel?
It's 181.92 acres. So it's 182 acres. The yellow area is 14 acres.
Okay, I'm colorblind, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the area of impact would be 14 acres. So you're looking at only 8% of the site will have impact.
Right, and the yellow is, you're talking about the yellow outlined area, I assume.
Yeah, it's a lighter.
Okay. Okay, I saw that. I didn't see the rest as being yellow, so I just want to make sure. You will be building the access roads and the road. I've been on that road, walked down it a couple of times since we knew this was coming, and it's very rough. So will you be putting in all the roads?
We can improve middle up to the entry drive.
I'm sorry?
Yes, we can improve middle as you approach the entry drive.
Okay, I didn't catch that last word, but that's okay.
And
There are no town roads there except the main road which intersects Route 4. So any roads that will be constructed, you'll need to talk to Mr. Hathaway, our road commissioner, about that. Will this project be constructed in stages?
The best way to describe is we would commence immediately with the clubhouse and 3 of the buildings. But as the 3 buildings come up, we would follow about 6 or 8 weeks with the other 4th and 5th building. And that's just to time completion and time lease up for the project.
I didn't hear that clearly. My question is, I understand there will be 4 or 5 residential buildings plus a clubhouse. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. And will they be built all at one time or consecutively as their occupancy demands, or?
3 at first, the other 2 consecutively, but within a month or 2.
I assume you have done some research into the community concerning the demand for this kind of housing. It's the first project of its type in many, many years. The others have been condos, and I don't think we have a rental project around that's this big, not only Rutland Town, but anywhere.
We certainly see the need. We have other locations with similar demographics. And also the quantity is to create the amount of residents to support the amenities.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'm sure a lot of other questions will pop up, but at this very early stage, I certainly appreciate the heads up and the detail which you presented. Thank you.
Barb? I have one more question, Barb, if I could.
Yeah, go ahead.
The
Go ahead.
Dyer Road, I don't know if Norm was referring to Dyer Road, but that Dyer, what used to be Dyer Road is that it's not much of a road. And I assume that they're probably not going to do anything with that, but I would just like to know if Bill could point that out, that Dyer Road is right in there. Are you going to be doing anything at all along that road with that road?
No, it's not our intent to do anything with that road.
Okay, that's good.
So what is your intention is to build a new access road onto Middle Road
Yes.
from your project?
We will build access off of Middle, and if there needs to be some improvements on Middle, we will do it up to the driveway.
Okay, Howard, thank you for clarifying that for me. I didn't read the drawing that way, and that's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else on the commission that has a question? Sherman, do you have a question?
I do.
Okay,
Yes,
Jim.
I do. Out of the total acreage that you are purchasing, do you have any feel for how much of that is wetland and would not be developable?
There we go.
Did you hear the
Hello?
question, Doug?
Yeah. He's our engineer.
I hear. Can you hear me?
It's a phone.
The question I asked was,
Yeah, how
what
much is wetland, right? Can everybody hear me okay right now?
Yeah, that's.
can everybody hear me?
Yeah, Jim, we did get the question. There's some background noise, but I think they got it.
Yeah, we got the question. So to the to the left-hand side of the tracks, as we're looking at this plan, that is primarily not all wetland, but a good chunk of it's also within the 100-year floodplain. On the right-hand side of the tracks, we're proposing the development. It appears that there's a little wetland that kind of comes down to the, I guess, the upper side of our development and heads down towards Dyer Road. Keep in mind, we're going to have our wetlands folks go out there and actually delineate all the wetlands. And once we get the topography, we'll be able to more accurately show the limits of the floodplain. Otter Creek does have an elevation associated with its floodplain, so we'll be able to show that clearly on a plan once all the survey work is complete.
Okay.
Okay.
Jim, anything else?
Not right at the moment. I'm sure there will be as time goes on, but
Right, right. And speaking of time, do you have a timetable for submitting your Act 250 application?
Yes, we are currently engaged in a purchase and sale. We wanted to, first of all, yesterday we held a neighborhood presentation to the direct abutters, of which we had attendance by two of the residents, and then we're here tonight. So we wanted to have these informational sessions before we engage with Act 250, but we would be reaching out to the representative for District 1 after the meeting tonight to engage with the form work and start developing a package. Kevin is also going to engage with a local civil engineer in order to start putting together a site survey and plan development.
Okay. And both the Planning Commission, this group, and the Select Board will be statutory partners in the Act 250 process. One of the abutters is the chair of the Select Board and may be interested in having a presentation to that group, if you're open to it.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, we met last night. For those of you who are wondering, I'm Mary Ashcroft. For those on the Planning Commission who are wondering, my land is across Otter Creek. I do go from up on Quarter Line Road and part down to Creek Road and then across Creek Road to Otter Creek. And if you see there's a little place where my land bulges out into the creek and it's whitish next to the black of the creek. That's where the Boy Scouts come occasionally and do a cookout in the sand. It's Boy Scout Beach. At any rate, that's why I participated. This is quite a distance from my residence and it's all ag land in between this proposed project and my house. But yes, because the Select Board is also a statutory party, we would invite you folks. Doug, please do plan on coming and making this presentation to our Select Board. We have one other member of the Select Board on the meeting tonight, and that's Aaron Jones. So we'd be happy to visit with you and go through the presentation. So thank you very much.
Excellent. I'll see when you have the meeting and I'll tie in with Bill, correct, in order to get on the agenda?
Yes, yeah. Anyone else here in attendance that has a question for the company? I can't see everyone on the screen right now, so just speak up if you do have a question.
Yeah, Barbara?
Yes.
This is Byron Hathaway. I'd like to ask the developers, the access road that you plan on constructing, will this hopefully will be built to town standards? Do you have any intention of turning that access road over to the town?
No. No, everything that we build, we maintain, we'll plow it, if there's a pothole, we'll fix it. If there's something up with a curb, we'll fix it. If there's a catch basin that loses a rim, we'll fix it and replace it. This is going to be, this will not be needed to be maintained by the town of Rutland at all in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, thank you. Will there be any gates at the entrance?
We found that the gates kind of close everything off instead of keeping it open. So unless the owner gets hit by lightning and changes his mind, I don't see a gate really happening.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. We do have a very good digital security system. All of the residents have key fobs. We have cameras, including access control, where they can see the doors in terms of visitors.
Barbara?
Yeah, Norm.
Yeah, I just would like to mention, Byron was very careful not to say something, but I would suggest you speak with Mr. Hathaway, who is our road commissioner, if you haven't already, because we're pretty sensitive to making sure the roads are not only to town standards, but are sufficient for fire access. And that's a major concern in rural communities. And so I just suggest strongly you speak directly with Mr. Hathaway and make sure the project is up to our ordinance that he administers for us so well. Thank you.
Okay.
So we typically will meet with both the police and fire. I mean, fire has more of an interest in the road geometry and widths and slopes and all that good stuff because they're obviously driving the bigger vehicles. But aside from the typical controlling the drainage, making sure everything kind of flows and works good internally, we have a really big focus with the fire department to make sure that they're able to access whatever they need to access. And it's typically not something that, it's not even typical. We just don't shy away from it. If they need to have access somewhere, if we need to make a curve a little bit longer in order for them to get around it, we'll do it. If we need to widen something, we'll do it. So we'll be working closely with the fire department as well.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Doug and Kevin, very much.
Thank you. We really appreciate being able to come here this evening and make this introduction.
We love developers that come early because we always have lots of questions. Andy, you've got one more, or are you just adjusting?
No, I was just changing my screen. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you again, and we'll see you sometime soon.
Absolutely, and I'll reach out with Bill and we'll get on to the select board meeting.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you so much.
Great. Take care.
You too.
Okay. So we've kept a couple of people waiting to get to our next item on our agenda, which is the subdivision off Post Road and Route 7 North. So we should have, we still have Dick Thomas, and we've got, who else from Velco at the moment?
You got Sandy and Doug, I believe.
Okay, great.
I'm Sandy Fogg, and I work in the real estate and right-of-way department at Velco. And Doug Best is our project manager for a substation upgrade that we're planning right off of Post Road. And Andy McMillan is also with us, and he's on our environmental team.
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you for waiting too.
No problem.
Yeah, why don't we start with you describing the project a little bit. And I'd like to ask the commission just to keep in mind whether, we've got a subdivision here, whether it's a minor or a major one. And a minor one doesn't require new roads or, utilities from the town. So anything bigger than that, anything that does require would be a major subdivision. We have slightly different requirements for the two. So Sandy, are you the spokesperson?
I think it's probably best to look at the plat, the draft plat that we submitted, and I believe Bill has that. Maybe would share the screen and we can talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can. Sure. Give me 1
Just
second.
give it a second. yeah.
Okay. And I was also unclear about tonight. Is this meeting just to look to make sure we have everything submitted to you that you need to make a decision, or do you actually make a decision? What is your town process?
This would typically be the point where we would look over your application and decide whether everything's in there. And we could approve your application tonight. Then there would be a public hearing
Okay.
on this, probably in 3 weeks' time or another 3 weeks, 6 weeks' time. And then we would make a final decision
Okay.
after that hearing.
So early last year, Velco, over the years, we've been upgrading and modernizing some of our substations. And early last year, we talked about upgrading what we call the North Rutland substation right next to Green Mountain substation off of Post Road. And about that time, we learned that the Thomas's property adjoining us, where the Armed Forces Reserve Center was for sale. And it just happened to coincide. I'll let Doug talk about the plans for the project upgrade, but I think what we knew that there were solar developers interested, and certainly we attended another meeting where you talked about archaeological issues associated with this property. And we thought it was a good time to actually see if we could buy more land buffering our substation. Much of this you'll see to the east and west is already encumbered by ours and Green Mountain's power lines. So we just kind of put pen to paper and said, it'd be great to have extra land for future. And we worked with John Colvin, the Thomas's realtor, to get a purchase and sale together. And I'll let Doug talk about the coincident substation upgrade right there off of Post Road.
Thanks, Sandy. So we are still developing our project, but one of the things that we recognize that we probably need to build a new control building. And we're not sure we actually owned enough land to accomplish that, and would require us to expand our fence. So those were kind of the bigger drivers for purchasing the additional land. We will be filing an Act 248 probably this summer to the PUC, and there's a structured process that we have to go through in order to engage the public, the planning commissions, and the abutting landowners. Basically, the project is going to be in-kind replacements of our substation equipment. Yeah, probably the most notable thing will be a new control building. But there'll be more on that when we actually we'll have to do a 45-day notification, which will be coming up here probably the next month or two. And then again, sometime around, I'm hopeful in July, we'll actually submit our filing.
So it's not our intention to build a new substation on the 31 acres.
No, it's not.
Doug said we're simply going to probably need to enlarge the fence a little bit to accommodate the new control building at the substation. But we only have 1.3 acres there, and Green Mountain is sandwiched in there with even less. So the property really enables us to perform our anticipated improvements, but also to give both of us, our utilities, future expansion or replacement potential. Which, I mean, that substation's, it was one of the first built, and I think it's from the 50s. And we've done different things to it, but always in that small footprint.
Right. So the The original substation there was with Central Vermont Public Service. I don't recall when it was built, but then the Velco substation was built in 1958. And
Right, the CV's was in 48.
Oh, it wasn't 48? Okay.
Yeah.
And we've pretty much maintained our footprint and infrastructure that's there since 58. We've done a few improvements over the years, but this will be the first time that we're really looking to expand the fence. And I mean, the control building that's there is 1958. So it's certainly in need of some improvements.
So we had Dave Rose from Rose Land Surveying prepare this. I submitted the application and the list of abutters. There's quite a few. And so we hope that this is reasonable to the town.
Did you happen to look at the requirements for the drawing and for the final plat?
I typically leave that up to the surveyors, and he's the one who put the abutters right on the map, on the second page of the map.
Yeah, there was quite a list there.
So I assume he's complying because that's his job.
And there's also quite a list. There's 25 requirements for the drawing and the final plat. You can waive some of those. Have you had a chance to go through that list to see what you'd like to, if there are any you'd like to waive?
I guess I haven't done that, Bill, have I?
I'm coming. There we go. No, so that was what form number 2 is it has the list of all the requirements, whether they're included, whether they're not included, or whether you'd like them to be a waived requirement.
Okay.
So that would be for the final plat.
Okay.
And I noticed in Form 1, we have several different versions of Form 1 with your signature on one and Dick's on another. So if we could combine those.
Well, that's how we're doing it by not meeting. It was,
okay.
I submitted separate sheets because we did it electronically. Dick signed and scanned and I signed and scanned. Together, it's both of us.
I think that'll be okay. I mean, I can make that work in the file. Just note that their signatures are there. But what I did notice this afternoon, Sandy, was that Dick Thomas missed one of the signature lines. I think you'd highlighted it for him, but he signed the signature of record. But I think it's signed both places there. So we can get that cleaned up. That should be too hard to do.
Okay, Mr. Thomas is on.
Yes.
Yeah. You can scan it to me and I'll sign it and scan it back.
Yeah,
okay.
I can do that. So we'll take care of that, Barbara. That's fine.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Any questions from the commission, and are any of my sharp eyes available to see if we've got everything we need for Form 1 on this draft plat? My eagle eyes, I guess.
Barbara, I could not tell from, maybe because the print's too small for me, but what is the size of the parcel here? That's
the shaded area is 31.98 acres, I believe.
But do I understand you are, the only thing you're going to be doing on this is to be remodeling the existing substation with a slight increase in the area consumed by it. Is that correct?
Douglas?
That's correct.
All right. So the rest will remain open land?
Yes, it will.
Mm-hmm. And Barbara, this is the same parcel that the solar people were going to purchase, basically?
it's a little bit different. I think maybe it includes some of that parcel, but doesn't include all of it.
I see.
There's more to the south that was under consideration there.
I see.
Anyone else from the commission?
Just a point of clarification, Barbara.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I assume that the substation is what is in white, the horseshoe shape in the middle of the shaded area? Is that correct? Is that what the substation is? Yep.
Yes.
Bill's drawing on it. Thank you.
That's the existing Green Mountain Power and Velco substation.
Okay.
We're within a shared fence.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions? Since we have this up and we can all see this pretty clearly, or rotate around to see it clearly, there's a little checklist here, excuse me, for applications. First one, boundaries and area of contiguous property of owner. Second one, boundaries and area of property subdivided. 3, proposed subdivision lines. 4, name and address of professional preparer. 5, numerical and graphic scale of plan, date, and north arrow. I think I saw those.
Yes, he's got the
Yeah, it's
title
here, Barbara.
block.
It's just off the screen, but it's there.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 6, existing features and facilities, including roads, public utilities, and utility easements, wooded areas, structures, water courses, ledge, wet areas, and excessively steep slopes, which is not exactly applicable here. And then requirement for proposed improvements, including roads, utility easements, rights of way, and there are none of those, right?
Correct.
So we can keep this as a minor subdivision. And a location map right there in front of us.
Andy McMillan, are we going to try to hook up to the town sewer though?
Yes, that is one of our goals.
Okay.
Oh, okay. And you don't have it there now?
No, we have an old on-site system.
Okay.
There are connections along Post Road that we were hoping to connect to.
So I think that does push us into the major subdivision then, because of that. So that means we need a plat for the next time we meet. And Bill, keep me on the straight and narrow here. And then we need everything on Form 2 on that plat.
Yeah, so, right, because if it's going to be classified as a major, the Form 2 requirements are the preliminary requirements, and then the final plat has that's what Form 3 is for all the requirements for the final hearing are on Form number 3.
Okay, can I just ask, there's no way this is a boundary line adjustment then? Because even though it's all contiguous to what we own now.
No, I think the scale of it, and now with the utility, the water and sewer, aspect of it, that would not make it a boundary line adjustment.
Okay, Andy, we're not hooking to town water, just sewer or what?
That is the plan. Yeah, we have a drilled well. Hoping to keep that in place. We haven't done the layout. Like Doug mentioned, the control building is kind of the largest physical thing to site. But yeah, hoping to maintain the drilled well that's on site and connect to the municipal sewer, basically because of the site soils and just the nature, kind of the constrained land there. But that's the current plan.
Do we have municipal sewer on Post Road?
Yes, we do, Norm.
Thank you.
I think the little controls for the pump station are located right in front of the substation.
Yeah, the generator is there and the pumping station's at the corner of Post Road and 7.
Right.
So yeah, it's close.
And there probably is a sewer line that comes down from the reserve center. Does it come down that road?
Yeah, they do have a connection. So I'm not, and I think, I'm not sure where I'm not sure if the map here has the key for manholes, but their manholes may be right down the middle of their road. Sewer manhole,
Barbara?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a sewer
Barbara,
manhole.
Bill?
There's sewer manhole right there.
Who was that? Was that Howard?
That's
Yeah,
Dana.
But with that, they probably wouldn't have to cross the road just to connect into that.
Yeah,
that
that's
line there.
that's a sewer manhole right there.
What are the implications for the right-of-way access to the reserve center along that road, and the implications for this particular transaction?
Our purchase is subject to that since it's pre-existing. And we would also, that's also going to be an access route for the Thomases to reach their other property on both sides of the Armed Forces Reserve Center. They would utilize the same hatched area.
Do you want to show the other? Do you want to show the other plat? There's another drawing that was submitted. If you want to show it.
You mean the second page of this?
Yes, the second page.
That's the other one that I have.
Yep.
Yep. So that double hatch is the driveway, and the other east-west hatching plus yes, that's all, and that will be a right-of-way retained by the Thomas family.
Okay. Well, I think this would qualify as a major subdivision. It's not too many more steps to take, but there is, you do have to come back to us 2 more times.
No problem.
Okay.
And we'll likely have to meet with the planning commission anyway when we file for our 248 permit with the Public Utility Commission.
Mm-hmm. That would
And
be
the
good.
select board, right? I think we'd usually
In the
do
select
both,
board, yeah.
right?
Yeah, and the regional planning commission as well.
Yeah.
Correct.
Any other questions? I don't think we need to take any action tonight, right, Bill? Since it's,
No, I don't think so.
we approve the application, the next step now, right?
Yeah.
And so if you could get us the Form 2.
Right. And Richard's signature.
Yes. And our next meeting will be in 3 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, March 11th.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for your patience, waiting for your turn tonight.
Not a problem.
Kind of an
Thanks for
interesting, yeah,
Thanks for having us.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Down to old business for the commission here. Well, a little bit of feedback there. We've got the list that we came up with for our questions of prospective developers that we're working on. I think we're still editing away at that. Bill, how many edits did you get?
I only sent mine to you, Barbara. I didn't send them to Bill.
Yeah.
I didn't realize we were supposed to do that. I can do it momentarily.
Well,
we can put. I can compile any resubmissions to for the next meeting.
That's what I was hoping someone would say.
Let me just send it right now. I apologize.
Bill, I have
Thanks, Bill.
another thing that I'll send on to you, but it was
okay.
For water and sewer allocation.
Yep. For the developers.
Yes, for a developer, if they're going to need water and sewer from the city or fire district or something.
Yep, and that was one of the first things that Doug and I talked about when he called about the housing project. Was I said, well, you're probably going to need both of these, so let's we covered that pretty early on. So yep, absolutely, it's appropriate.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll table that to the next time, and if anyone has a chance, has time to work on that list.
Does anybody want me? I'm in the process of emailing it to Bill. Would anybody like me to include them? Jerry?
Norm, this is Jim. I would appreciate if you could email me on that.
Okay. Anybody else?
I don't need it. We'll see it when Bill puts it together, I'm assuming, right?
Okay. Yeah, I apologize, Bill. I sent it to Barbara, I guess not thinking it through.
All right, it'll be reflected in your file.
Let me just ask a question about it. We're referring to it as a list of questions, and I thought I didn't exactly perceive it to be that when we started. I thought it was going to be something for us to follow, not to hand out necessarily, but for it would be something where we would tell people we're not making the decision rather than giving them the paper, and that we would advise them depending on why they came to us. We would have a list of things that we would either refer them to or that we thought they needed to do. Was I wrong on that? Because when I read this, it says list of questions, and I didn't think we had a list of questions we were putting together.
Okay.
So,
yeah, good point.
It looked like it morphed, Sherman, because we were talking about questions, and when I took the notes at the last meeting, they were actually questions, I think, that we were putting together. But what I did notice, and what I think is actually an improvement, is that these are resources and that they're aligned to our questions. So that just needs to be a little tweaking of the wording, I think. But I think it's a good idea to have these resources available. And I don't know if it's a question like Jerry was originally thinking that we want to have that goes along with each one of these for clarification, which is what I think Sherman's saying. And who was it that just mentioned the water and sewer? That wasn't on here. So I made a note to myself that that should be an area to be covered as well. We didn't identify that. And I think that that's what Bill said he was just going to be doing. Is that correct, Bill? Did I catch that right?
There we go. There we go. That was the intention, was that I was going to compile the list of submissions from the group into one document.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's come across as resources, and that's fine.
Yeah.
The questions that will go along with that, I can leave that up to the pleasure of the group. I think that was Jerry's original request, and I think that's what Sherman was expecting, so we can discuss that, I think. The other area that I thought should be pointed out is current use, because Howard has mentioned on more than one occasion the application of current use to acquisition of properties and development, and that's missing as well. So if we could put that in, that might also be something for our prospective developers to have contact information about. And I'll turn it over to somebody else if you want to actually phrase those questions that go along with each one of these resource areas. I think it's good work.
Go ahead, Norm.
Okay. My recollection is that we started off with Jerry's thoughts that we were asking too many questions. And I think what evolved was that if we gave the developers more upfront information, then we might have more direct questions because they would be better prepared when they came to us. And I thought that's the way the discussion evolved, and that's why the list was in its present form. I absolutely support both questions about both comments of Dana concerning water and sewer and current use, because all those things come into the equation at one point or another. And if the developers, who aren't always as sophisticated or as the people we heard from earlier this evening, are better acquainted with the procedures and the nuances of developing land, then I think our questions will be a lot more precise.
Okay. Jerry, is this, I know I kind of took a different turn here with the resources. Is this what you had in mind originally?
Well, yeah, I apologize to everybody for this kind of morphing into something else, but at the same time, it was more directed at that thing about asking people questions that were maybe something that the select board had to decide on, or what, and it just seemed to get really cumbersome. We were discussing things that didn't. So I think that we're on the right track, and I don't know that we need something really basic, just so that we know we need to ask questions that pertain to the planning commission, and that questions beyond that really need to be directed to other resources. And I think it's almost that simple. And it really wasn't ever meant to get to the point that we took so much time. I appreciate everybody taking the time, and that's how we get good things done. But you know, it's been a lot, so I don't want it to be more cumbersome than the questions began. So,
but Jerry, to your point, you also wanted us to stay in our lane.
Well, that's
you didn't want us as planning commission members to start straying into all kinds of other areas, and to keep the process streamlined.
Well, it's happened a couple of times, and that particular spot up north of Joel Jerry's Nissan was a perfect example of, we don't really have much to do with the height of a building. I mean, that goes beyond us. And I just thought to ask those questions may take a potential developer and kind of turn them away, when really they don't need to be turned away. It needs to go beyond us. Without zoning.
Sure.
Yeah, I still am get back to the thing I was getting to in the beginning was that my impression was we were putting together something that was a guide for us to give information to someone who came in, not something we would hand out to them. Just so we're all on the same track, because, and the questions were questions that we would potentially ask.
That were within our purview, as Jerry was saying. So it was a guide for us to be asking questions within our scope and not going beyond that, so that we would stay focused.
Yeah,
that's where I was headed, and we all are by nature, we're curious about what's going on, and I understand sometimes there's questions that we all would want to know, even though, but sometimes it may push somebody away.
So we're on the right track or not?
I think we are. I think it's been a great discussion. So
So we'll continue and tweak away at this.
But
Let
to
me know
Sherman's
when-
point, Barbara, I think that if this is going to be a handout, we should still have our cheat sheet about what types of questions we should be sticking to Jerry's point, so that we're not making the process more convoluted than it needs to be,
Well,
and not asking developers questions that are really outside of our purview.
Okay, so that part needs a little more work.
I think so.
I think we have to be careful not to tie our hands. So, and I'm not sure how to do that. I would like to streamline the process. I'm as guilty as anyone else, perhaps more so, of asking too many questions that might be only peripherally related, and I'll certainly try and watch that. But at the same time, each project is unique, and if we have too narrow a list and we're tied to it, we may miss something. Now, so I think let's keep an eye on that as we go through it. And I just think that would serve us well.
Not going to be limited to what.
I can't hear you.
We will not be limited to what we come up with as a list of questions. But we would take something out of the ordinary for us to go beyond that is the way I interpret it, what we're trying to do. So not to say you can only do this, but here's what we would normally do. If there's something other than that, there's something extraordinary or some question that's not answered, then we go beyond it.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, so we'll keep going on this road and try to find something that works for everyone in the next meeting or two. We have some other homework that is it's nothing that we have to do immediately, but the select board has asked us to look into something. Towns around the state received a letter from the Vermont Transportation Board that there has been a proliferation, I guess you would say, of private helipads and airstrips. And a lot of them are going into existing neighborhoods and, are serving one resident of that neighborhood. The board is part of a process that approves these strips. And the first step is a municipal review. What they're finding and what we have here in Rutland Town is that there's nothing there for them to review. There's nothing in the town plan. There's rarely there are bylaws regarding this. So the select board asked us to look into the options, adding something to the town plan. We don't have zoning, but we are allowed to do a standalone bylaw or standalone ordinance if we want to. So I'll share a little more information for the next meeting on that. The board not only sent this letter saying this is going on, you might be aware of this. They had lots of useful suggestions for addressing it and some concrete examples of what other towns have been using. Am I close to what the select board is looking for there, Mary? Okay.
Barb,
Yeah.
you indicate that there's none in Rutland Town. Well, I believe Velco has a helipad up at their site on Pinnacle Ridge.
Yes, they do.
And yeah, that probably went through the same process.
Probably.
Yeah. So it's a municipal review, then the state looks at it, and then it goes to the federal government. There's one thing that you cannot touch with any of these options, and it's noise. It's like that there's a federal prohibition against enacting anything that tries to control the noise of such infrastructure. So, but there's screening and there's setbacks and some other things that can be done. So we have we'll have that be looking at that in future meetings.
Thanks,
Any
Barbara.
other announcements or news from the group? Yes, Chair.
I haven't done this for a while. It was a treat to join all of you for a meeting, and I want to thank you for the work that you've done. The select board hasn't sent too many things to you to square away for us, but we know we've put the work on you at times and you've come through wonderfully. So thank you for what you do. And we've got some interesting projects coming up.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Okay, last thing on the agenda is the minutes from January 28th.
Move to
Are the
approve.
minutes. Motion to approve, a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Andy. Q Norm. You're muted, Norm. You're muted.
No, he just hasn't found anything wrong. That's all.
Okay.
Come on, you know better than that.
Are we ready for the question?
Yes. Under new business, number 1, last sentence. This was brought up by one of the members. It was brought up by Jerry Stearns, I believe. And I think since it's his idea and since it's such a good one, he ought to be noted in the minutes.
Jerry, do you want to be called out or do you want to leave it anonymous?
I'm good with leaving it the way it is.
I don't know. Okay. Let's see if we could mute Jerry and have a discussion about that. No. Okay, whatever you want. On the second page, it says second sentence, third sentence, after a clerical correction, and I think there were several, so it should be clerical corrections. That's all I
Okay.
have.
You never disappoint, Norm.
I'm sorry?
You never disappoint.
Oh, well.
You always have at least a
Barbara,
couple.
we can't get that proofreading out of our systems no matter what our career is.
I'll amend my motion to approve the minutes as corrected. And we don't have to worry about a plural this time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion for the minutes of January 28th?
Aye.
Say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that's all I have. Anything else from anyone? Thank you, Mary, again for attending. Okay, a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thanks, Jerry. Okay, folks. See you in 3 weeks.